Hey everybody, it's Nathaniel Avila reporting from Greater Orlando, and I am joined here with Timbrel Hildebrand reporting from Crowley, Texas. Um, and today we are going to be talking about Frozen 1, right?
Otherwise known as Frozen.
Frozen hard stop. So I'm going to do some background a bit, and it's a bit of a lengthy one. About Frozen. So the funny thing about Frozen is that the story about it came started all the way back in 1937, where Disney, the guy, began exploring a possible live action animation biographical film of the author and poet Hans Christian Andersen. Before the December premiere of his film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first feature-length hand-drawn animated film, of course. In March 1940, Disney suggested to a co-production with film producer Samuel Goldwyn, where Goldwyn Studio would shoot the live-action sequences of Anderson's life, and Disney Studio would animate Anderson's fairy tales. The animated sequences would be based on some of Anderson's best known works, such as The Little Mermaid, The Little Match Girl, The Steadfast Tin Soldier, Thumbelina, The Ugly Duckling, The Red Shoes, The Emperor's New Clothes, and, of course, The Snow Queen. However, the studio encountered difficulty with the Snow Queen as it couldn't find a way to adapt or relate the Snow Queen character to modern audiences. Now, after the United States entered World War II, Disney focused on making wartime propaganda, which caused development in the Disney and Goldwyn project to grind to a halt in 1942. Now, Goldwyn went on to produce his own live action version of the film in 1952, anyway, called Hans Christian Andersen, with Danny Kaye as Andersen and Charles Vidor directing, Moss Hart writing, and Frank Loesser penning the songs. So all of Anderson's fairy tales were, instead of being animated, they were told in song and in ballet and live action form. It went on to receive 6 Oscar nominations the next year. So back at Disney, the Snow Queen, along with other Anderson fairy tales, including The Little Mermaid, were shelved. Now fast forward all the way to the late 1990s. Walt Disney, the studio, animation, started developing new adaptation of the Snow Queen after the tremendous success of the recent films of the Disney Renaissance. But the project was scrapped completely in late 2002 when Glenn Keane reportedly quit the project and went on to work on another project which became Tangled. Uh, Even before then, Harvey Fierstein pitched his version of the story to Disney executive, but they rejected it. So Paul and Guyton Brizzy, Dick Zondag, and Dave Goetz reportedly all tried their hand at it, but failed. After a number of unsuccessful attempts from 2000 to 2002, Disney shelved the project yet again. During one of these attempts, Michael Eisner, who was then chairman and CEO of Disney, offered his support to the project and suggested doing it with Oscar winning director John Lasseter at Pixar after the then expected renewal of Pixar's contract with Disney. However, negotiations and between Pixar and Disney collapsed in January 2004, and that contract was never renewed. So instead, Eisner's successor Bob Iger negotiated Disney's complete purchase of Pixar in January of 2006 for $7.4 billion dollars, and Lasseter was promoted to CCO of both Pixar and Disney Animation. The next attempt started in 2008 when Lasseter was able to convince Chris Buck, who before then co-directed the 1999 film Tarzan, to return to Disney Animation Studios from Sony Animation, where he recently co-directed the Oscar-nominated 2007 film Surf's Up. That September, Buck pitched several ideas to Lasseter, one of which was Snow White. No, not Snow White, the Snow Queen. Buck later revealed that his initial inspiration for the Snow Queen was not the Anderson fairy tale itself, but he wanted to do something different than the definition of true love. And quote, Disney had already done the Kiss by a Prince scene, So I thought it was time for something new, he recalled. End quote. So it turned out that Lasseter had been interested in the Snow Queen for a long time. Back when Pixar was like working with Disney on Toy Story in the 1990s, he saw and was blown away by some of the pre production art for Disney's prior attempts. So the development began under the title Anna and the Snow Queen, which was planned to be traditionally animated like a 2D cartoon animation. According to Josh Gad, he first became involved with the film at that early stage, when the plot was still relatively close to the original Anderson fairy tale, and Megan Mullally was going to play Elsa. In early 2010, the project entered development hell once again, when the studio again failed to make any story and the Snow Queen character work. But all in all, they managed to do it, and the rest is history. So that's the backstory of Frozen.
Yeah, I had heard some of that stuff before about it being an old project of Walt Disney's. But yeah, that's real interesting.
Yeah. So, what are your initial thoughts of Frozen, especially when it came out in 2013?
Well, when it first came out, I was very young, and
Uh,
I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it now. I think it's a pretty well-rounded, fun film that you can really enjoy at any age. I mean, the animation is really pretty. That's always a plus. I think the music is really cool because it was written by the Lopez's the Lopez couple who have done
mhm.
Broadway stuff, and that really shows, which I really like because I'm a big Broadway fan. So it was nice to kind of have those rousing Broadway, 12 o'clock numbers like Let It Go,
Yeah.
and that the characters were enjoyable, the story's fun. I think it's a good movie.
Now, how old were you when it came out?
You said it came out in what, 2013?
2013. Yeah.
I think I was 14 when I went to go see it. I
You
was
were
either 13 or 14.
you were 14. I was 18 when it came out.
Yeah.
So it sounds like I don't know. It sounds like you might be in the correct. You were in the correct demographic that Disney was trying to pull. Uh, so was it a success for you at that age?
I mean, I guess. I mean, I remember liking it.
Okay, so like especially like after the fact, it really blew up. Especially the song "Let It Go." It was played everywhere.
That
So
is true.
yeah, was it your favorite song?
I enjoyed it. I know that it's been a little overhyped at this point, but I still think it's a fairly strong song in regard to its place and purpose in the movie.
Yeah. Now I know that Elsa was originally supposed to be the villain. So
Yes, I knew that also.
yeah. So do you think this film would have worked if Elsa was the villain?
I mean, I guess there's no way to know for sure. I mean, I think it's a cool story how when they wrote the song Let It Go, they decided to make Elsa a good guy, um, just because the song was too, I guess, uplifting for a villain.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, when I first started watching the movie, I wasn't 100% sure she was going to be a good guy because the way they had marketed it right up at the front made her look like she was going to be the villain. There was that TV spot that everybody saw where Anna and Kristoff were stuck in the weather, stuck in like a blizzard, and Kristoff went, "All we have to do is survive this blizzard," and then Anna would go, "That's no blizzard, that's my sister," and then because so that really set it up like she was going to be the villain. But once they started releasing more, I suppose, of the cutscenes for the trailers, um, I remember being a little confused. Like, is she supposed to be the bad guy or the
Yeah.
good guy? And I'll tell you, even when I was listening to her do "Let It Go," when she did that thing where she like ripped her hair down and changed her outfit, that's when I thought she was going to be a villain. Because villains usually do that, where they like change their outfit and decide they're going to be bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would have worked or not. I don't think it would have had quite the charm that it has as is if they had made her a villain, because that would have felt very, I don't know, I guess it would have been a little boring. I think with this, they make it a lot more interesting because we get to see her conflict. And so we get to have two female protagonists that we really like. I think it's more interesting where she's just a conflicted heroine rather than just your run of the mill, super powered Disney villain.
She's definitely a lot more layered that way. Like in that
Yeah.
one scene you're saying about the blizzard, where she's like, "That's no Blizzard, that's my sister." Ah,
Yeah.
and then it pans over, and then there's Elsa in a black hood and cloak, and then a red lightsaber comes out, and
Good one.
then and then that happens. So, do you think that this film is about depression? Do you think that's what it's about? There's a lot of people who said that it is.
I mean, I guess it could be construed that way. I never got really that feeling for it. I thought it was more about kind of like family ties and finding your place and whatnot, and using your talents for something good, even if they're a little scary. I don't know.
Hmm.
I thought it was more about sisterly love, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So like I know that there is the whole big thing was the what was it, the frozen heart. That's a huge thing. In the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, in the opening song, they say beware the frozen heart. So in this case, we have two instances of a frozen heart. We have a literal frozen heart, which is Anna, and we have a figurative frozen heart, which is Elsa. What do you how do you how do you what do you think about that?
Um, I mean, I do know. I did think that the frozen. I guess the frozen heart does mean something in the midst of it, because at the beginning they're talking about how the deepest part of the ice is dangerous, so you need to be careful about that. And I guess they're talking when it comes to Elsa, her greatest danger was being super afraid all the time, so afraid to the point that she like bundled everything up inside of her until she just exploded and she had nowhere to go. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It is a it is a recurring theme throughout the movie. I'm not really sure exactly how it plays in completely, but it is. I guess it's the frozen heart for Elsa is more like how she's afraid to use her powers, and Anna's is more literal, I suppose. I guess it was like foreshadowing at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm. So like okay, so this next point was it was kind of already handled in the sequel, but we're gonna pretend that the sequel doesn't exist for the sake of this podcast.
Okay.
So now Elsa, the whole thing about Elsa's arc was that she was completely always supposed to do what she was told to do. That she had social responsibilities that she had to do. Uh, then Let It Go happened, and then she was like, oh, okay, I don't have to do all that stuff anymore. I can just forge my own path and do whatever I want to do without any worries or complications. So, but then at the end, she ends up just fulfilling the role that society wants her to do anyway. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess it's more of a concept of she knew what her duty was, so she wanted to serve her people, but she felt restricted because, she wasn't sure how to use her powers and she was afraid of herself. So now that it was kind of more of a matter of she now rules over her powers rather than her powers ruling over her. So in a way, she didn't give up her freedom. She's just utilizing her freedom now, where she doesn't have to hide with it.
Mm-hmm. So that also leads me to the another character, the character of Hans. What do we think about him? He was like a surprise villain.
I thought it was a nice little twist that they decided to make this perfect Prince Charming a bad guy, and maybe I'm just as thick as a wall because I didn't see it coming. I mean, if you, I mean, I don't know what I was expecting when I watched the movie, but I really got so caught up in the story that I did not see it coming. So when he turned on her, I was like, I was betrayed.
You were betrayed. Like you thought
Yeah.
Hans was like best
I
boy.
kind of thought he was just going to kind of be pathetic, like he was in love with Anna, but Anna wasn't in love with him, so the kiss wouldn't work, and blah blah blah. But no, I think it was way more interesting that they decided to make him a villain.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I know some people would tell you like, "Oh, I would have saw it. I saw it a mile away."
Some
I
people did. I just wasn't one of them.
okay. So like I don't know. Have you ever watched the show Once Upon a Time?
Bits and pieces
Okay.
at
Well,
one point. I wasn't a huge fan of it.
okay. Well, in the show, there was a season that did have uh it was like an unofficial sequel to Frozen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. In that Hans comes back to Arendelle with his 12 brothers that he alluded to, and
Hmm.
he tries to attack Arendelle and whatever. What do we think about that plot point? Would that have been good for Frozen 2?
Um, it might have been interesting. I think that whole Once Upon a Time show is really dumb, so it's kind of hard for me to take anything it does seriously.
Okay. Another thing that the Once Upon a Time show does is that it touches on the relationship between Anna and Elsa during that time where Elsa was kind of giving Anna the cold shoulder.
Good
So
one.
yeah, so she was giving her the gold shoulder. I'll high five myself, thank you. So and and Anna was basically holding a lot of like resentment towards Elsa because of what she was doing. So she kind of just like started like lashing out at Elsa because she was all like, "Why did you leave me alone?" Do you think that would have been a good plot point to explore?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been interesting. I guess that's just I don't find it really relevant because that's not really how they portrayed it in the movie.
Mm. So like, what do we think about Anna's, I suppose, emotional immaturity in this film?
I mean, I think it makes sense. You know, she's been kind of locked away with her sister, not really being able to talk to anyone. She she's having a hard time adjusting to society, so obviously she's going to be a little bit naive, a little bit, I guess unaware of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose,
And
like,
yeah,
yeah, very naive. So I think it makes her delightful because she's very genuine in everything she does. So I think it's what makes her a really good. It makes her a really compelling protagonist.
mm-hmm. Like also she wants to like, what was it, like marry the first guy she sees.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also let's move on to the other guy in this film, Kristoff. What do we think of Kristoff?
Oh, I love Kristoff. He's excellent. I really enjoy him. He's funny. He's charming, and he clearly cares about Anna and all that. So I think it makes him a little bit fun. I also thought it was fun that they decided to kind of not make him the traditional. I guess give him the traditional look of a Disney prince. Like he's a little bit stockier, because his job is hauling the ice and whatnot. So I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm. And it also kind of goes into this whole idea of both like traditional relationships and alternative relationships in this film, especially since he was not brought up by humans; he was brought up by trolls.
Hmm.
So also like let's move on to the trolls. Like, what do we think about the trolls?
I liked the trolls. I thought they were cute.
Yeah,
They were interesting.
yeah, and especially since they were like, "Oh, she has a boyfriend. That doesn't matter. You're getting married anyway." So, and also, so yeah, like also, what do we think about the character of Olaf in this film?
I know that some people. I'll tell you the one thing. When I first saw the trailers for this movie, I thought he was going to be super annoying. Like just by watching the trailers,
Uh
I
huh.
had extremely low expectations. I'm like, oh man, this character is going to be so annoying.
Uh huh.
But he is just a delight, I think. And I think that one of the main reasons he's such a delight is because he's played by Josh Gad, and Josh Gad is super fun, super talented, and super funny.
Yeah.
So I think he gives what could have easily been a very throwaway sidekick character. He gives him a lot of charm, and I enjoy him a lot. I
Yeah.
particularly like the fact. I think one of my favorite parts is when they first meet him, and she goes, "Oh, I'm Anna," and he goes, "And who's the funky-looking donkey over there?" She goes, "That's Sven." He goes, "Oh yeah, and who's the reindeer?" And he calls Kristoff Sven for most of the movie.
And,
I think it's just hilarious.
and then the crowd goes like, "Oh!" Like that, like you just got burned by a snowman. I know, like in the original, like the very, very, very first, early on teaser trailers for Frozen, it only showed like this little mini short between Olaf and Sven. So everybody thought it was about the relationship between Olaf and Sven. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's about it. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. I don't think I saw it till after the fact, but I have seen it.
Yeah. I thought I saw it and I was like, I have a feeling this is not going to end up in the finished cut of the film.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah, like, so why do you think Elsa made Olaf in the new in like right after she was doing like the Let It Go thing?
I mean, I'm guessing it was supposed to be kind of symbolic of like that was the first thing she wanted to make, so it spoke to like I guess that the bit of fun that her and Anna still had was still there. Showed that she cared about her sister and whatnot and valued those memories. So I thought it was kind of sweet that that was the first thing she made once she left the castle and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. So, also, there are some people who are kind of sad that Elsa was not given a relationship. What do you say to that?
I think it's okay. She's kind of like her own thing. She doesn't need a relationship. She's kind of focused on herself. She doesn't need that for this. I don't think Elsa really is in any need of that because she's already such an interesting and dynamic character. She kind of gives you that lone wolf kind of vibe, like that she's she's not looking for a relationship. In a way, I don't know if she feel that she would be able to hold a relationship due to kind of all the stuff that she has to deal with within herself. She's sort of a lone wolf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's
So that's
married.
the
Yeah.
way that's the way I see it. I don't think that she need a relationship. Plus, to add a relationship for her into this movie would have been way too much within the 90 or 100 or so minutes that they had to tell the story.
Mm-hmm. So like,
So
so she's
I think
like,
it works.
yeah, she's married to her job, is what you're saying.
I guess she's married to her powers, I suppose.
She's married to her power.
If you want
Um,
to look at it that way.
yeah. So like, there are some people who are questioning Elsa's sexuality. What do you say about that?
I mean, I just don't think it really plays any kind of role in the film. I think that you're not really supposed to think about that. She's just, I mean, I don't think there's really anything to suggest. I don't know. I just don't think there's anything really there to suggest any speculation or whatnot. Again, that's not what her character is about, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I agree too. So it really doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Um, so the end of the film, did we like the whole idea of that the true love in this case was family love instead of the relationship love?
Yeah, I liked it. I'm a sister. I have a sister,
Uh-huh.
and so I personally connected with this. I personally connected with Elsa, being the older sister, wanting to keep your younger siblings safe, and you want what's best for them and whatnot. Um, so I really connected with that whole sisterly love, and I thought it was really cool that they decided to go that route instead of the traditional I guess romantic love kind of thing. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. So according to like ancient Greek writers, there are 8 different types of love.
Mm-hmm.
There is eros, which is passionate love. Uh, and then there's philia, which is the love between friends.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's agape, which is selfless universal love, which is like the love for nature, the love for God, that kind of thing. Then there's storge, which is family love, which is what is depicted here in this film. Mania, which is obsessive love. Then there's ludus, which is playful love, which is like having a crush among young lovers and all that kind of stuff. Then there's pragma, which is enduring love, which is like love seen between like long-term relationships and married couples, that kind of thing. And then there's philautia, which is self-love, the love for yourself. So that's a little lesson there for the different types of love that you can experience.
Cool.
Uh huh. So, any final thoughts you have about Frozen?
Well, I mean, we haven't really talked about the main character,
Wait, who's the main? Which main character? Anna?
Anna. Yeah, we
Oh,
haven't really
snap!
talked
That's
about
right.
her
She
that much.
she is technically the protagonist. You're right. Okay, so what do we think about Anna?
I absolutely love Anna, and again, I think that this movie really benefits from having good casting. And
Yeah.
what I thought was particularly interesting about this movie, and again, I have a real love for the music in this movie because it's it's Broadway with still that Disney charm, that Disney whimsicalness. Um, and I think it's really interesting with the casting they did for Anna and Elsa, because with Anna you have Kristen Bell, who's a phenomenal actress,
Hmm.
and you have her, and she has this very sweet, light voice that's very similar to, I suppose, Jodie Benson, who played the Little Mermaid, or Lea Salonga, who did the singing voice for Jasmine on Mulan, and then you have Elsa, who's played by Idina Menzel, who has a more low and belty voice that is not very that is definitely not Disney princess esque. So in a way, their singing voices kind of reflect who they are, with that deeper, I guess, more mature voice. Elsa just Elsa immediately has more of an adult, has more maturity to her character, and so I think it's really cool. But back to Anna. Yeah, I absolutely love her. She's so funny and cute, and it's so cool to watch her go after her sister and learn and grow. And her relationship with Kristoff is hilarious. I absolutely love her because they do a good job of making her, sweet and cute like your average Disney princess. But I think she's also very funny. So I think that really adds to everything that she is, and she's a great singer too. So that's fun.
Yeah. So like, what's your favorite song?
Oh, from this movie?
Yeah.
I really like Let It Go. I know that like it's a cliche now, and everyone kind of rags on it now because it was so overplayed at the time. But I think it's a pretty cool song. I still enjoy listening to it.
Okay. Also, okay. So what do we think about like the clashing personalities between Anna and Elsa?
That's a lot of fun, I think, because again, speaking as a sisters, they're very alike, but also they can be very, very different. And I think you see both of that in Anna and Elsa. Like they both have a love for fun, but Elsa is clearly the more, I guess, the more protective of the two. She is the more adult of the two. Obviously, she's the older one, so naturally she kind of assumes that role. And with Anna, she's more happy-go-lucky. She doesn't look at the world as dangerous first. She kind of looks on the bright side of things, while Elsa tends to be more guarded. So it's interesting to see their personalities interact, because they're so different, but they still clearly care for one another so deeply. So I think it's really neat.
Yeah, and it's also like the juxtaposition between the two characters is also kind of seen in their character design, also,
And what
where
now?
their character design. Um,
Oh yeah,
so like we see Anna, who I believe she has red hair. Is that right?
yeah, she's a redhead.
Okay, so she has red hair, which is definitely goes in opposite of the blue that Elsa wears, and she also has sunspots or freckles, where that also kind of represents the whole fire aspect, as in juxtaposition to Elsa's ice.
Hmm.
Yeah, um, and that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, that is neat.
So, like, what did you think about like the representation of Norwegian culture in this film?
Well, I'll just say I know zippity zap about Norwegian culture, so I wouldn't know if they did it right or
Yeah,
not.
well, I watched all three Thor movies, so I think I'm an expert.
I
Uh,
don't know if that makes you an expert, man.
I also played the new God of War, which I think makes me. I basically have a PhD now.
So you know just about as much as I do, then.
So yeah, I know they used to have like an exhibit in the Norwegian Pavilion in Epcot about that exact thing, about the Norwegian inspiration of Frozen. I did go there and I did read it, but I think I forgot it. I forgot all of it. So
Great.
so I'm yeah, and I don't think it's there anymore. I think it's something else now. Uh, so yeah, that what are your final thoughts about Frozen?
I think it's a good movie. A lot of people say it's overhyped, but I think it stands the test of time. It's great animation, good singing, great songs, good writing. I think it's a very enjoyable movie. It's I think it earns its place up there with some of the classics and whatnot.
Would you say like Elsa's a pretty good role model for younger kids?
I think she's a good role model in that she shows, I guess, I don't know. I don't know if she'd be the best role model because she doesn't deal with stuff very well. But I suppose when it comes to like taking responsibility for like what you do, she does do that. So I think that's something that kids could learn from, I
Yeah.
suppose.
So like this film made 1.28 billion dollars. So it made a lot of money.
Wow.
So another thing, uh, what do you think about the how this film uh, represents isolation? How do you think that it does that?
I think they do a good job of that, particularly the scene where Elsa's kind of talking to herself and her ice starts changing colors the more stressed she gets. Uh, I think that was a neat sort of. Um, I mean, the best way they show isolation in this is just showing it, showing her, separated from her sister. Their rooms being separate. Her, isolating herself up on a mountain. So, I mean, I think that is a big part of this that she's just running away. She's trying to be alone, but it's not really helping anything.
That running away isn't the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, what would you rate this film?
I'd probably give it, say, a 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
So that's Frozen for you. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.